Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lisa Braston here with Chris Noble. We are here with Wisdom from the Edge. It's kind of a mouthful. Wisdom from the Edge. All about wisdom, edgy, a little bit on the not the straight and narrow, not what you would normally hear, but depending on who you would like to follow on YouTube, there's a lot of really interesting stuff being talked about right now. And today we thought it would be really great to make this podcast dedicated to just affirmations. And the reason is because we sprinkle in a lot of different affirmations throughout, but if you're not feeling good and you're going through a tough time right now, or even if just a day or an hour, hold on to this particular one and put it in your saved files because we hope that we'll just feed off of each other, Chris and I, and we'll just start saying just different affirmations, things that we have said to ourselves before, and then other things that we feel called to say and to bring to your attention. And I think one of the best ways that we can help you is by saying things slowly, maybe, and allowing you maybe to write things down, or maybe you want to repeat them aloud. I'm a big fan of speaking affirmations aloud. What do you think, Chris?
Well, there's a huge power, excuse me, in speaking, your affirmations out loud because you're now bringing vibration, and frequency into it from your voice box, right? Out now emanating into the physical through dimensional reality. So there is an extra bit of power when you say them out loud. And that's what we'll do for you today, listener and viewer, is that we'll provide you a whole bunch of different affirmations that you can definitely write down, repeat, press pause on this video as much as you need, or this audio as much as you need, and just maybe re-listen to things. Do whatever you need to do. But this is going to be a very much I feel like a resource and a tool and a resource based episode. And before we get into the affirmations themselves, though, Lisa, I was thinking, why don't we talk about the power of affirmation? Why do we even need affirmations, and why are they so helpful? Especially, and not always, they can be used for anything, but especially when you're having a hard time. How are affirmations, in a way, a method of reprogramming yourself from a very potentially negative mindset into a more neutral and then positive mindset?
I never, years ago, I thought that affirmations were a bunch of hogwash. I thought, what is that? Just repeating stuff aloud or saying it aloud? Does that really make a difference? And I will say it does, because by the time we're 40 years old, we have about 65,000 thoughts a day. And out of those thoughts, 90 to 95% sit in our subconscious realm, which means that we're only conscious of about 5%, maybe 10%. And then think about, if you just do the math on that, how many things that we incessantly think about on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis. And are we aware of how often those thoughts are negative? Well, studies have shown that out of those conscious thoughts that we have, over 65% of those are actually negative.
And I'm sure, depending on the person, that's even higher. Depending on what you're moving through, that could be almost 100%. Some people, myself included, came from a very negative self-talk background, for sure.
Right. So when we think about how much we are unconscious, or let's just say, if we think about how much we are conscious of our negative self talk, then imagine how much more we are in our subconscious negative self talk. And that is the power of affirmations, because what we're doing is we're breaking the habit, we're breaking a pattern physiologically, we're breaking a pattern neurologically, we're breaking the pattern on a DNA cellular level. We talked a few weeks ago about what happens when our cells die and what happens when they get reproduced. They actually get reproduced based on what the feeling that we have and the thoughts that we have, but the feeling that we have the most is what triggers the regeneration of new cells. So if we're not feeling well and we have a lot of negative self talk, we're actually going to be producing more of the same. And so having affirmations and coming up with them, which is part of a gratitude journal, I think, because it is taking the little joys or the seemingly little joys that we may have at the end of the day and writing them down. Affirmations can be used very much. And you don't have to sit there and write them out or read them, or you could be in the car driving and just all of a sudden say, you know what, just start talking. Like, you're going to have a great day today. And we can get started right now, Chris. I mean, we could just start going.
Well, and you know what? I'll quickly just share a story that I literally a couple of days ago experienced, and it was a great example of, look, affirmations are just a fancy word for the things that we say out loud about ourselves or to ourselves, basically all of the time. And we might be saying affirmations all the time that we're just not putting that label of an affirmation, but it is in all intensive purposes an affirmation. So, as an example, I was performing and touring for this last couple of 5 days, and we added in a new member to the band, a drummer, and he always kept bringing up that he was trying to lose weight. And I was like, okay, cool. That's nothing wrong with that. That sounds great. And I would keep hearing him always making jokes. I'm like, oh yeah, like the fat guy here, or he would make these fat jokes about himself that were done in good fun. And he wasn't like, wasn't completely like, hating on himself, but there was still that energy of reinforcing this idea that you're fat, you're fat, you're fat. And I told him, I was like, I actually started to hurt me hearing it, knowing that also he wanted to move past that and start to lose weight. So I had to start to intervene. I'm like, okay, you need to stop for 2 seconds. Do you hear how many times you're saying you're fat, you're fat? Do you realize what? And just to stop him in his tracks, to get him to take a moment to reflect on the amount of times he kept repeating this idea, this program, he started to catch himself in it. And then he would look at me and be like, oh, I caught myself doing the fat thing again about myself. And I could see in that moment I could see the reprogramming. And the reprogramming also takes time, listener and audience watching this. Keep in mind that these affirmations don't necessarily, maybe an overnight quantum leap is possible, but most of the time it takes repetition. And it takes a lot of time for these affirmations to start to reprogram, because you're also undoing a previous program, and then through moving through all the affirmations, you're bringing in a new program, right? So it takes time, and I think the realization is also just half the battle right there, right, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's a reset. I mean, affirmations are a physical way, a verbal, energetic way of resetting your programs. And it is uncomfortable. It's foreign to say different affirmations that make us feel good. And the reason it's foreign is because we're not used to it. So many of us are actually constantly hearing a negative loop that we're not even aware of. But you can tell when you start doing the affirmations how foreign it is by realizing how much you haven't been in kindness to yourself.
Yep, 100%. I'm living proof of that. So, I mean, why don't we dive into some of these affirmations? Do you have any go
Absolutely. I
to?
do. I do. I have go tos, but I happened to be writing some information yesterday in a book that I've been committed to called The Way of Mastery. And one of the things in the second part of the book called The Way of Transformation, it asks for us to get a journal and write the things that are actually most prevalent. And of course, it's like every line is prevalent. So I'm writing and writing and writing and writing. But the good thing is that I'm writing it down and then I'm speaking it. So this is part of my affirmation. So first, I think that when we can say to ourselves, I am Okay, so I'm going to say a number of things. And so, listener, see if you can respond and say this back to yourself. I am a beautiful soul in this physical form. I am unlimited. Everything around me is because of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. Nothing is unavailable to me. I am unlimited, pure spirit. Now just see, how does that feel? And we're going to continue this. I am a field of consciousness. My consciousness is unlimited. I am important to be here on this earth plane in this time. I mean something. Life always works out for me. I am a sovereign being, and I deserve to have all of my dreams and wishes fulfilled. I am kind. I am thoughtful. I am loving. I am integrity. I am empathy. I am compassion. I am love. All of these things and more come back to me tenfold. Chris, jump in whenever you'd like.
Oh man, those are all so good. I'm just listening, feeling the delicious frequencies from that. That's I'm taking note too. So the ones that I like, I sometimes switch my perspective where I talk to myself more in third person, which is something that again, people watching this episode, viewing and listening to this episode, experiment with how you like to say the affirmations too, because I think that's just as important is how we say these things. How is it going to resonate with you? So, for example, one of the journeys I've had to take that's taken me quite a long time and it's been challenging is the self-love journey. So, one of the things that helps me with the self-love journey, because part of my actual love language in romantic relationships is physical touch. That's one of the most important. They're all important, the love languages, but there's usually like a priority, let's say, and which ones really resonate with you the most. So physical touch is like number one for me. So when I'm doing an affirmation of self-love, I like to also actually hug myself and put that physical touch into the affirmation so that there's a physicality. And then I would just say, I love you. Sometimes I say it like it's to my best friend. So I'm like, I love you, buddy. You're doing great, man. Love you, brother. Almost in this third person, but it's clearly being said to me and I feel it. But because it's done in a third person, and then some days it's more like I stare in the mirror and just say I love you. So it depends on what I'm feeling. But every morning I say I love you to myself 3 times at least, and then I'm doing that while giving myself a self hug as well. So sometimes, feel free to experiment with how you say it, and also if you want to add in some physicality to it. I mean, what do you think about that, Lisa? The physicality aspect? Do you?
I think there's nothing wrong with anything that speaks the love language to self. And so if touch is part of it, maybe you want to say this in the mirror. I tend to say my affirmation of you're going to have an absolutely wonderful day, Lisa. You're going to experience magic and miracles before I even get out of bed.
Yeah.
That's what I say every single morning.
Yeah, me too.
But I got that review.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's really good. So I make that an actual habit. And that's the thing is that when we start doing things on a regular basis, we become consciously aware that become consciously proficient. And when we do it long enough, that proficiency then turns unconscious and we become unconsciously proficient about something. That is the hardwired habit that we really want to strive towards. So I love that. And I think being in third person or first person, you change it up to see how that feels for you. I mean, I think I statements are very powerful.
Yeah.
I think I statements aren't very common, especially if you're looking in the mirror. You know, those of us who, even prepping for the podcast, I'm like, let me put a little bit of lipstick on, what am I saying to myself? What do you say to yourself when you look in the mirror? What is the first thing that you say and comment? Can you become aware of it so much? And viewer, listener, that could be very painful too. And that pain could be immediate. Oh my God, look at how I look. Look at my face. Look at my body. I'm not pretty. I mean, this is the self talk that we typically hear. So these are, I would say, probably life saving, telomere expanding habits that will keep the longevity on the inside in the space of illuminated energy on the outside of us. You know, when you see someone who's happy, they light up. And we're here and making a commitment to you, to us, to you, to everyone, that we all deserve that. We all deserve to be lit up from within, which means it's from us individually.
Absolutely. And another great way to find your own customized affirmations is to think about kind of how Lisa was just saying, like, what are the things that you're saying to yourself already right now? And they're likely not going to be the nicest, right? So find the antithesis, the opposite of those phrases. Just flip them around. So, like my friend who's, oh, I'm fat. I'm like, okay, what's the opposite? I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm strong. Like I look great. Like those things, the opposite of what he was saying there. I'm like, that's how can we flip this now? Flip the program, and that's an easy way, right? To just find, okay, well, what affirmations do I even need? Well, what are you saying to yourself right now that's not so nice? And then just flip that, basically.
I love that. That's so great. That actually is the easiest way. If we have the courage, it takes a lot of courage for us to be okay to listen to the negative self talk, knowing that it's not real. It's not real. It's an illusion.
And it's changeable, like anything in our life. It might not feel that way, and especially in the beginning, it's always the hardest, right? Just like it is, to something like quitting smoking, right? There's a comedian I always enjoyed. He's like, quitting smoking is about as difficult as it is to start flossing. It's all these things that we most universally, humans struggle with, right? And that's okay. I think leaning into that, being like, it's gonna take some time. That's okay. Doesn't mean that's a universal truth for everyone, but it also kind of can let you off the hook. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to then say these affirmations and the next day be like, my life's going to be completely different. It could very well be, and I don't want to ever eliminate that as a possibility, but also just, give yourself some time, and most importantly, be kind to yourself about the whole process, because of course, if you're not, then you're going to undo all of those affirmations that you spent so much of your time and energy, creating in the first place. So just a friendly reminder to you beautiful audience, that, it's going to maybe take a little bit of time, and that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that.
So, the momentum, though, when you get started, is one of the most important things. Why? Because transformation requires commitment to live differently and the willingness, really, to abide where you are differently. Understand that these affirmations are not easy necessarily, but if you are doing the same thing over and over again, you're only going to get the same results. And if you're not satisfied, fulfilled, happy, maybe there is the next level of where you want to go to in your life. something has to change. And I believe that commitment to change is that which can fuel the change forward.
I also want to add something quickly too, that affirmations can start to become something that you can really use in a functional way throughout your day-to-day life, outside of just reprogramming your own thoughts. As an example, I've started to do this in my performances. We had a show 5, 6 nights ago, and there weren't too many people in the venue at the beginning. So I turned to the band. I was like, okay, guys, so guess what? At the end of the set, we're going to have it filled. It's going to be exciting. People will be dancing. And that's what's going to happen. And the lead singer, he's like, we're manifesting it. Let's do it. It's happening. We all said it. We spoke it into existence. And then by the end of the show, it's exactly what happened. And so you can use these affirmations in so many other ways. Use it in your business, use it in your love life, your dating life, use it in any aspect of your life. This is just an amazing way to take the power of thought and words and intention and the attention to those words, and then literally start to create magic in your day-to-day life.
And the reason why is because you are extraordinary. Listener, viewer, you are extraordinary, and you're limitless in the potential to create anything that you want. And when you have that commitment, what you're doing is that you're accessing these innate gifts that we all have. You're accessing it, you're cultivating it, you're becoming the gardener to your own life. And gardeners always need to nurture their garden, to nurture their seeds, to water it, to care for it, to weed it. And that's essentially what life is all about. I don't think, in my personal, I mean, just the way I see life, I think that there's nothing outside of myself that's real. It's all an illusion, which, could be very controversial depending on your belief system. But I mean, I think that the things that are outside of us are merely symbols to the quality of the experience that I choose to have. And if I don't like something because I have a perception that it's limited or that it is constrained or restricted, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It just means that my perception is showing that based on the experiences that I have chosen to have. And we live in this temporary mind body communication device. What are you going to do with it while you're here? And Chris and I are committed to making an impact in everything that we do, every person that we encounter or we don't know directly. And the power is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. The power is within you, and there's no external toys or devices or anything that you really truly need. It's all within yourself, and it can start with something as simple as these affirmations. And let us know what your favorite affirmations are. Let us know what your progress has been. Let us know what challenges and hurdles you come across. Let us know about the whole process. We'd love to hear. Let us know in the comments below, or send us a message. It's always in the show notes, the ways to reach us and connect with us. And that's really what we're all about, is just giving as many tools and techniques as we can, and continuing to improve and build upon those, so that you, beautiful people, can take them into your life and implement them in all the various ways that you will. And as I've been saying, it's great to hear from you as well. So let us know, how does it go? What do you like? What do you prefer? Because also, what you add to the conversation is going to help a lot of other people too. So it's all a co-creation here. We're just starting the process, but it's really up to the rest of everyone on this planet to continue that process.
Thank you, Chris. And I also just want to end here with a couple of affirmations from a book. It's an oracle book by Sandra Ann Taylor. And I am just going to randomly pick something.
Great.
I live in a vortex of joyous energy. I listen to the the beautiful music of my life and dance to the soul's sweet song. I move comfortably through my experiences of my life. I release resistance and align myself with the joyous energy flowing freely through the world. Last one. It's the jelly. I plant the seeds of my future in every present moment. I nourish my destiny with action and joyous expectations. I think the common theme to all of that was joyous, 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 joyous.
Yep.
When we can feel a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, even if it's just, oh my gosh, today's the sun shining, or today it's raining and I'm so happy to be in a thunderstorm, or whatever it is, those are the little seeds that we're planting. And the seeds that we planted yesterday are the experiences that we are having today. So, what do you want to experience? We would love for you to share with us if there's any affirmations that you did like, if there's ones that you would like to share with everyone else. We would love to hear from you. Give us a thumbs up on this one. Any questions that you have, or actually any other subjects that you would like for us to talk about, that would be really awesome. I would love to get a real, juicy tongue twister of one. I would love to dive into some of Robert Edward Grant's, geometry. This, 20, the number 24. Now he's come up with all these things with what the number 24 represents and how that correlates with everything. There's just so many things that we would love to talk about, but we want to know from you, listener and viewer, what it is that lights you up. And, this is just this is a playing field for us. And we hope that when you're not feeling so good, that you may come back to this one and re-listen to it so that you can feel elevated, because you deserve it.
Absolutely. So just remember, you are special. You're amazing. You are loved. Absolutely loved. And always come back anytime you need to this episode or any other episodes if you want a little quick hit of some love and some actionable things you can take into your everyday life to enhance your beautiful existence. So I guess from myself at least, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we will catch you on the next episode of Wisdom from the Edge.
Thank you. Namaste.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Wisdom from the Edge. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. And make sure, if you haven't already, to follow, like, and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. It actually helps us out quite a lot in growing this platform. And also leave us a comment if you haven't already. We'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts about what you enjoyed on this episode and things that you want to offer, maybe ideas for a new episode or things that you want to hear more about. Also, make sure to check out our website, wisdomfromtheedge.org. All that is in the description below. And you can learn more about what we do, what offerings we have, and of course, the courses and programs. There's lots to learn from, a lot of really cool resources to check out to enhance your everyday life. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Wisdom from the Edge.